Hey everyone, Bill Lethman here for MoneyEvolution.com. In today's video blog, I'm going to talk about this guy. This is Ken Fisher. He is a fairly well-known portfolio manager, and he's also a Forbes columnist. And Ken has been running these ads here on some of the business channels like CNBC and Fox Business, and as well as on YouTube here as well. Ken Fisher hates annuities, and he's not afraid to say it. So I wanted to make this short little video and talk to you a little bit about some of the things that Ken says here regarding annuities, and hopefully clear up some confusion that some people may have, because Ken is not alone. There's a lot of people out there these days talking about annuities and really talking pretty negatively about them. Susie Orman is another one, financial guru that doesn't like annuities. I think Dave Ramsey's also made a bunch of comments that he doesn't like annuities as well. But let me read to you a couple of the things that Ken talks about in this video here. He says, we don't sell annuities. He says, I would die and go to hell before I would ever sell an annuity. Most annuities have nosebleed level fees. They don't do what the customer thinks they would do. They have tremendous tax problems. They're hard to get out of once you get into them. They're extremely confusing with a contract this thick. These products are not made to benefit the customer. The real winner is the salesperson. And anything you can do with annuities, there's a better way to do it. So I wanted to just talk to you about a couple of these bullet points right here again, and hopefully clear up a little bit of some of the confusion here. First of all, I've talked about this many times on the blogs here before. Annuities can be some of the most expensive investment products out there. There's no doubt about that. Variable annuities can have expenses that are upwards of over 3%. So you definitely need to pay attention to fees, and you definitely need to weigh the benefits of what you think that annuity is going to do for you, or what that annuity will do for you, versus some of those fees. Again, most people, I think, are looking at an annuity or own an annuity, in my opinion, probably because they like the guaranteed income feature of it. And that is one of the things that I think that an annuity can do that other investments really can't do. Ken, I'm sure, manage some really good portfolios, just like I think we manage some really good portfolios here as well. The one thing that I can't do, and the one thing I don't think Ken can do either, is guarantee somebody a certain level of income for the rest of their life. There's always going to be things, no matter how well you manage the portfolio, there's always going to be events potentially that could happen that could derail that and cause us to not be able to produce that guaranteed income for the rest of somebody's lifetime, which we don't know how long they're going to live. So that's one thing annuities can do, and that's one thing I definitely disagree with, is that anything you want to do with an annuity, there's a better way to do it. Let's talk about some of these other things. They don't do what the customer thinks, and I'll be the first one again to admit that I think a lot of people that own these annuities, a lot of people that are looking at annuities, and some of the people that are selling the annuities, quite honestly, may not be conveying the right information to the customer, and they may not necessarily understand. That's why I think it's so important that if you're doing an annuity or looking at buying an annuity, you need to do your homework, and you need to understand what that annuity is going to do. One of my other videos in this series, I talk about big mistakes that people make buying annuities. So if you haven't already, check that out, and hopefully that'll give you some more ammunition to ask some of the right questions. He also says that they have tremendous tax problems, which I'm not really sure what he might be referring to there. I don't really think there are tax problems that are unique to annuities. They fall into that tax-deferred category, the same way that money in an IRA account or 401k plan falls into the tax-deferred category. And I personally believe that money that is in a tax-deferred account will always grow to a larger amount than money that's in a non-tax deferred account. And that just makes sense, because with money that's in a non-tax deferred account, we've got to pay taxes on it every year. And assuming if that money is being taken out of the account, the tax money, it's going to grow to a smaller amount. So we just went into screensaver mode here, but I'll let that go there. They're hard to get out of once you get into. So there's some truth to that too. I talk about that as well. There is most of the time a surrender period for annuities, and there are some surrender penalties for taking your money out early. The most common is probably 7 years. Sometimes it's a little shorter, sometimes it's a little longer. But again, you shouldn't be putting money into an annuity that you plan to take out before that 7-year time period. And annuities can be somewhat confusing. They can have some they can have some features and things that need a little bit more explanation. So again, doing your homework is probably your best line of defense for understanding the annuity and understanding what that annuity is going to do for you. The last thing I really want to kind of wrap up here with, and again, this annuity sometimes becomes a little bit of a 4-letter word. So we're here in Detroit area, and we work with a lot of automotive clients. And about 4 years ago, I guess, a couple of the automotive companies, Ford and GM, offered pension buyouts to their retired workers, essentially. And how the pension buyout worked was essentially like this. So somebody was getting a monthly pension check from, let's say, GM, maybe it was $2,000 a month, and GM came along and they said, hey, in exchange for getting that $2,000 a month, we're going to give you a lump sum of cash. But if you take the cash, you don't get that monthly check anymore. And some of these checks were huge. I saw many of these checks that were over $1 million. I saw a lot of them that were in the $400,000 to $600,000 range. So this was not a small amount of money. And I don't think GM ever really released information on what percentage of people ended up taking the buyout. But I can tell you from my experience, I know a lot of people kept the pension. And if you think about a pension plan, it really is a form of an annuity. And a lot of people, having given that choice of taking that lump sum of cash versus the regular monthly income that they knew was guaranteed and they couldn't outlive, they chose the monthly income because they didn't feel like they were going to be able to produce, at least in as a consistent of a way, that same level of income. So I guess that's one way to kind of think of an annuity. Oh, and by the way, on the GM pension buyout, if you didn't take the lump sum check and you stuck with the GM pension, GM is no longer servicing that pension plan anymore. They sold the pension to Prudential, which is one of the largest annuity companies, and now they manage the annuity or the pension plan. And so now those people that work for GM or retired from GM that were getting a check from the GM pension plan, they're now getting the check from Prudential. So anyway, so I hope that makes sense. I hope that clarifies a few things. Again, there's a lot of people talking about different kinds of financial information. I think it's important to have kind of a fair and balanced discussion about the pros and the cons of any investment that you're thinking about, especially with regard to an annuity. And just because somebody says annuities are bad doesn't necessarily mean that all annuities are bad or that it doesn't fit into your situation. So anyway, that's it for this video. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope you got some great information. Again, if you're watching this video any place other than our blog at moneyevolution.com, head over there, check it out. We got lots of other free tools and resources to help you plan for a more confident financial future. Thanks. I'll see everyone back in my next video.